Have you ever heard of a PIP at work? Probably isn't permanent, pending involuntary parting, preparing to issue pink slip, better known as Performance Improvement Plan, a seemingly harmless acronym, but it's actually often a deceptive tool. And if you ever find yourself on the receiving end of one, it's crucial to understand they're usually a lie. How often do you hear about someone emerging from a PIP as a top performer with a whole lot of promotions and raises? The only definition of successfully completing a PIP I've seen is when they get a new job. By the way, if you enjoy this sort of content, leave a like and subscribe. I guess a long time ago, companies invented the PIP to actually give people a second chance, but these days, companies just use it as a tool to get people out and protect themselves from being sued or even possibly denying unemployment. Once you're on a PIP, the decision to fire you has pretty much already been made. And if you don't believe me, we'll take it from Nolan Church here, a former recruiter at Google, DoorDash, and ex-chief people officer at Carta. So here's our boy Nolan Church, and this was a transcribed conversation. 2015, he was DoorDash's 50th employee, and then he was tasked with how to manage low performers. He said they decided to go the PIP route, but only for the sales team because they have the clearest metrics. You're either hitting your quota or you're not. And it was easy to be very clear with someone and say, hey, look, if you don't hit these numbers, it's your last month here. But I'd like you to note here, let me stop. He said, in the early days, we decided that the sales team would be the only team with the formal PIP process. But during his tenure, everybody he saw that got put on a PIP got terminated either during the PIP or shortly after. My personal take is that once you get to the point of putting somebody on a PIP, the decision to terminate has already been made. And they bold his quote here, "I've never seen someone survive a PIP." It's true though. Just go get a new job. They're just building evidence so you can't sue them. Or possibly, depending on how toxic your company is, even deny you unemployment. And if a company wants you out, all they have to do is put you on a PIP, set targets that you both know are unobtainable, and wait. They gave you a chance. These things are manipulated and used as a tool. And we'll get more into that. He said in 2018, he moved to a different company called Carta, and he instituted another policy that required managers to put employees on a PIP before firing them. And this was to ensure managers could give feedback and employees weren't surprised they were being let go. But then the honesty comes out and he says, however, as we put people on PIPs, we found them to just be disingenuous and ultimately eliminated them. Instead, we terminated employees with a generous severance package. I really like that idea. Instead of paying them for 2 more weeks or a month or however long you're going to document them until you fire them, just let them go immediately with a severance package for that amount and still cite performance. But companies choose violence. He said, as a company, you want to consider why you're putting someone on a PIP. Are you doing it to make them successful, or are you doing it to cover your company? He essentially says companies put someone on a PIP because they're worried that the employee will be surprised and could take legal action, and the PIP provides legal cover. I actually like this guy's attitude more and more. He says, if you get put on a PIP, make the acronym stand for paid interview period, because your employment is coming to an end at that company, either very shortly at the end of the PIP or usually soon thereafter. You should assume it's not worked out at the company and put a majority of your efforts into finding a new job as fast as possible. And even if you survive the PIP, you have to think about, okay, what happens to me now? Will I ever get a raise or a promotion again? Or you could just go somewhere else with a brand new slate. Companies aren't allowed to ask your previous companies why you left or were let go. You didn't get put on a PIP. There were budget considerations. You didn't get let go. You chose to pursue other careers with more responsibilities and larger opportunities. Because all companies are really allowed to ask at your other companies are dates of employment and job titles. If you come into the job application and the interview with your story straight, no one even has to know. They can play games like that with you, then you can do the same. He says the likelihood of you getting a raise or promotion after a PIP is insanely low. The best option for you is to find a different company where you can be successful and start with a clean slate. And since you're counting down your final days in cubicle captivity anyways, and looking for a new job, it's the perfect time to make sure you have a website. And that's where today's sponsor, porkbun.com, comes into play, offering you a ticket to freedom with the .pro domain. If you didn't know, porkbun.com was actually named the #1 domain register by USA Today for both 2023 and 2024. And with the .pro domain, you can signal to the world that yes, you are a seasoned professional ready to rise from the ashes of your annual review. But really, why choose a .pro domain? Well, let me break it down. Respectability, because it tells clients and potential partners that you mean business. And if you didn't know, a .pro domain is SEO gold, basically boosting your visibility in searches directly related to your expertise. In a world crammed with generic .coms, .nets, a .pro domain sets you apart, branding you as a legitimate professional in your field. So whether you're freelancing, consulting, or launching your new entrepreneurial dream, name, .pro domains are adaptable for all your professional needs. And domains from porkbun.com also come with free Whois privacy and free SSL certificates. They also offer support 365 days a year. Yes, even on Christmas. So if you're interested in getting a .pro domain, click my link in the description and use my code BEAPRO24, and your .pro domain only costs $1 for the first year. Thanks so much to porkbun.com for sponsoring today's video. When life gives you pips, give them a .pro domain. And then, while you're pretending to improve, plan your exit strategy. Network like your career depends on it, because it does. Update your LinkedIn profile and get those references lined up. And then the third step is to polish that resume up like a middle manager pads productivity reports, okay? So you need to start thinking about either using up any vacation time you might have, any PTO, sick days, or if they'll pay that out. And while you're doing this, you're sending resumes out every single day. And don't take this part too literally, okay? But if you see a job and you think you can do it, or you think you can learn to do it, then apply to it. Especially if you think you can learn to do it at that job. Now, if the vibe gets weird, if things start to feel a little sketchy at work, then you need to become what Seth Godin calls a linchpin, which is basically when you're so important, they can't fire you. The company would just fall apart as soon as you leave. Well, that's a nice thought and all, but what it really means is making information that you have or that they need to use really difficult to access without you, or impossible without you. A point I want to drive home here is that trying to get you out, trying to manipulate employees, performance improvement plans are only the tip of the iceberg. There are so many other subtle ways to get you out that are totally legal. If you're an hourly worker, all they need to do is cut your hours to the point where you have to find a new job. Maybe you just got a job and you're on your probationary period and you're just waiting to get hired full-time to get your benefits. They can just keep extending your probationary period and force you to quit because they never had any intention to hire you full-time anyways. They just needed a contractor without telling you that. They can change the scheduling of your shifts to purposely ruin your work-life balance or essential needs like taking your kids certain places or going to school. Oh, and you know that other job duties as assigned? That means they can basically change your job description at any time, and if you can't meet those needs, well, you're out of here. Perhaps they make you start working with coworkers that you know are toxic, or you have a bad history with, or where there's clear favoritism. Or maybe they just move you to a different team where that happens altogether. Maybe they stop inviting you to meetings. You're not included or given any information you need to complete your job duties anymore. Maybe it's a surprise policy change with arbitrary rules that target you specifically. Maybe they transfer you to an undesirable location. And then you have your classic false promises about promotions. Companies have reached record profits this month, but they can't afford to give you a raise. Or maybe they're really toxic and they use wellness programs to assess future costs. So this person, that's not healthy, we don't want to give them health insurance. All right, let's find a reason. Or perhaps it's a company that has unlimited vacation, but if you ever take vacation, you know what happens. These sorts of things all lead up to what's called constructive dismissal, making your work conditions so intolerable that you just have to leave. That's what a PIP usually is. It isn't permanent. Your job, I mean. We can go more into each of those in different videos, but for now, just remember that a PIP is a tool out of many that they can use when they need it to get you out, and you'll never really know because the documentation is done behind the scenes. Unobtainable performance goals, well, here you go. You're out. I'd like to know what you think. Are you getting a new job as soon as you get on a PIP, or are you going to simp your way back up the corporate ladder into your boss's... Or are you going to stay at the company? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well, and I'll see you in the next one.